Taylor Lorenz 3.0
Yes.
is the best Instagram account.
Oh my God, stop.
Are you actually doing it? I wasn't sure
It's mine, 100%.
Okay.
It's all me. Yeah.
It's so much work to do both.
I don't know. I've had a lot of, I always have had like multiple accounts.
Yeah, I
And
saw
then they get banned.
Taylor Lorenz 3.0 just posted this about Polymarket that
Yes.
30 under 30 people want to bet on how
Yes.
quickly they'll go to jail. The Forbes 30.
Yeah.
And how do you cope with like your name being on Polymarket?
I think I like it.
There was like a $20,000 bet whether you would stay in the Washington Post or not.
I think they were betting whether I was going to get fired, which I ultimately didn't get fired, but I knew I was going to quit.
Leaves Washington Post in August.
Or leave it.
20,000.
Was that the old one?
It's the only one I found.
Oh, it's the only one. Yeah. I knew I was going to quit when that post went up, and I was thinking I could do some insider trading, but I knew that my last day wasn't going to be until I had this month-long vacation planned.
Yeah,
so I didn't want to leave until after.
Yeah, you have power to move money.
I just liked it because I feel like it's a sign of cultural relevance. So I considered her I'm very honored. I don't know any other journalists that had a Polymarket.
Even if you knew you're going to leave the Washington Post, you could just ask to postpone it to September, and the bet ends in August, so that you could influence the date of.
Could I have? I wanted to.
Potentially.
I left in October, so
they had it too early.
They were too early ultimately. But I know it was so funny because I was joking with friends. I was at the Polymarket party at the DNC.
How was that?
Being like, I'm going to quit my job. How do I feel? It was so fun. It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite events at the DNC.
They didn't seem like MAGA oriented, or just seemed like
no,
boys?
because it was this was at the DNC, so there wasn't really MAGA people. It was mostly just like other kind of internet people that are into the same kind of stuff. So, those are my people. So I had fun.
Interesting. And you told them about?
I was asking them about my bet. Yeah, we were joking about it. I wonder. Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, I was excited about it. I think it's fun.
So there was another one about the HBO documentary. There was a bet on who would HBO identify Satoshi.
Oh, yeah.
And that was rife for inside trading.
Yeah.
And journalists got a copy of the film like weeks in advance, and they could.
Right.
This was like a 45 million bet on a movie.
Oh my God.
And there was a list of people. Who is the Bitcoin founder? Elon was one of them. Was no.
Of course not.
Yes, no, yes, no. And then the result was like somebody else, not on the list.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
And then Elon no. Multiple other one outcome yes.
Yes.
That was a $3 million bet on this yes or no. And
it's really interesting. I just think I think the way that we get information these days is so distributed, and what I think is interesting about Polymarket is it's sort of like an information market. Like people are sort of saying what they think will happen and based off the information that they have. So I do think it can be a good proxy for certain things.
Yeah. It makes me want to check Polymarket just to know the news, because I don't have the energy sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the HBO documentary. The day after, I just checked Polymarket, who's the actual person who's Satoshi, and I just skipped the whole process of watching it.
Yeah.
Or when, like, any sports game, we'll just check the result here.
Exactly.
It's a news site.
Yeah, it is a news site. I think that's why I find it so interesting.
Yeah. But so many bets are like about the MAGA world, or like how many times Elon is going to post. I
think that's because the user base is so MAGA right now, and it is a really right-wing user base. Also, just because that's often how the crypto world has sort of skewed politically.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it inherently has to be. Like, I think it's interesting. I think that's just like the hyper online community is very like MAGA oriented around it, but I think other people could. I think it could go more mainstream. Basically.
It was the Baron Trump going to NYU.
Yeah, I saw that.
I made $500 on that.
No way.
I said he would go because I saw some news reports he might.
Yeah.
I thought, well, why not?
Yeah.
250 and I got 500.
I just think Polymarket is one of the real sort of truly innovative like media companies in a way.
Yeah.
That like it actually is sort of this new model for media and monetization and news information in a way that like all of these other like digital media startups are not.
Yeah.
Like they're just basically a continuation of like the old model.
Yeah.
And this Polymarket's the first thing that I've seen where it's like a true departure from the old model.
It makes users really check the news really hard for any tiny movement
Yeah.
to see if their bet might be like, and you can pull out if the percentages, you don't have to wait for the result.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Then you have outcome, you can dispute the outcome in some weird mechanism that I don't understand.
I've never disputed an outcome.
And so now I put all my money on the popular vote winner. I'm a European, so I can legally bet.
Yeah.
So I put all my money in the popular vote because I want to take money from MAGA,
Absolutely. Why not?
redistribute it to my causes.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, am I mad for putting so much money on the popular vote? But I'm like, no, she's definitely winning. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. They're crazy.
Democrats have won the popular vote,
Yeah.
like, consistently for the past many elections. I don't know how far it goes back, but Clinton won the popular vote, right?
Yeah. And it's only 62%. So, like, how much money is going on Trump winning the popular vote?
Right.
Mad on Polymarket.
Right.
I'm like, am I mad? Yeah, I know. When you see the comments, it's like you can see how much money people put on Kamala or Trump when they comment. So they're biased.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's
And
so
did you meet the founder, Shane Copland?
Yeah, I met him at that DNC thing. Awesome. He's really cool. I really liked him.
Yeah.
I think he's really creative and smart and interesting.
I think they kind of like hired or have Nate Silver as an...
They do. And Nate Silver is crazy. Nate Silver is completely off the rails on certain things. I mean, Nate has one of those problems where, like, he's smart about one thing, and so he sort of thinks that makes him smart about all these other things.
Yeah.
He's a crazy COVID denialist. Like, he's wrong on so many things. But I do think that he's smart about prediction markets and what this thing is. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately that's great.
He's on
for him.
Substack as well.
Yeah, he's on Substack. He writes, I don't know what he mostly writes about the stuff that he covers,
Yeah,
right?
He's the bulletin that people supposed to pay to get the actual latest bulletin, even though everyone knows what he just announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think, again, like, Nate has ultimately lost the plot on some stuff, but I don't have any, like, beef with him.
No.
I think, like, he's an interesting person who has really played an interesting role in this new form of, information distribution.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he got Hillary wrong, but
Yeah.
he's still a genius.
I mean, so many people got Hillary wrong,
Yeah.
and I think hopefully he learned his lesson through that. I don't know. I mean, what's interesting is, like, I covered that election, and by the way, got credentialed for Trump because I thought that he was going to win. That was, like, being contrarian back then. But, like,
You mean you've been in the Trump election party?
I was at the
ballroom
Hilton.
hotel, right?
Yeah. But whereas so many journalists didn't even bother getting credentialed for election night at the Hilton because they didn't believe that he was going to win.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But now there's so much scrutiny on Trump and there's so much sort of liberal panic about Trump that I don't think something like that would happen again. They overestimate him now.
Are you doing user mag things about the election or?
A little bit. I mean, one reason I chose to go independent was because I was really burned out about writing about politics. It's not really my favorite thing to write about.
Yeah.
And, where I used to...
Creator economy have been sucked into politics.
Which it always has been. I mean, that's why I was covering it back in, I wrote about, like, Obama, working with YouTubers and stuff. I think I just got really tired of writing these stories that are like, Kamala is viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
Kamala's meme army of making... it's just like, I want to go a level deeper. I want to kind of do more fun, short stories. So, I also only launched User Mag 2 weeks ago, and the election is next week, so...
It's a great layout. I'm just looking here.
Thank you. Thank you so
What is
much.
the newest AI slope? Facebook exploits suburban fear?
Yeah, so there's this viral sort of hoax going around on Facebook right now about people egging their neighbors' cars.
Right.
And I just wrote
it's
about
not
that.
a thing. It's a hoax.
Not a thing at all. Definitely a hoax. Also, I think it's hilarious because look at how none of the eggs are broken on top of the car.
What is this, like an AI image of the
Yes,
eggs?
that's a very AI image.
Interesting.
So
The guy who hosts Hard Fork.
Casey or Kevin?
Casey.
Yeah.
Casey's no longer on Substack.
No, he left Substack. He's on Ghost now. Yeah.
What's your take on Ghost versus Substack?
It's so funny. I'm actually talking to the founder of Ghost tomorrow. I love Ghost. I think Ghost is awesome. I'm on Substack right now because it has all the features that I need. So I also do a bunch of audio and visual or video. For me to be on Ghost, I would have to like pay someone to set up a whole custom website and all that stuff, and I just don't have that money.
Yeah, right.
I just started, so I don't have.
Like in Ghost, you need to set up a layout.
Yeah, it's like you need.
It's not like Substack exactly.
No, it's not like out of the box solutions. Like it's basically like, it's more similar to like a WordPress, as I understand it. So I don't have the money to do that.
Casey Newton, what was his reaction to user mag, and because he's like anti-Substack, but
I think he's not anti-Substack writers. I think he's critical of the company. I mean, look at my post from yesterday. I'm very critical of the company too.
Right.
I write very critically about it all the time. But ultimately, I mean, I think what people were upset at Substack for is that it had extremist content, specifically Nazi content.
Yeah.
Or not really Nazi content. It had Nazi users. And they didn't immediately take them down because those Nazi users hadn't published anything. It was just like their blogs had like not. So they ultimately did end up taking them down, but before they did that, they posted. It was just sort of like a PR crisis of their own making.
yeah.
I am a pretty strong advocate against top-down content moderation. I would much rather use a platform that's more permissible for sort of extremist content than less, personally.
Like Polymarket in a way that
Yeah.
everyone can just put their
I
mind
just
on it.
have,
Yeah.
I'm so against this idea of sort of these platforms policing like quote unquote disinformation. I mean, I think this also comes from really using meta products as a content creator for years, which journalists have not had to do. And now that they're having to use threads, they're realizing, and I saw Casey posting about this just last week, like, oh, this platform is incredibly overzealous in the way it moderates content.
Threads
it's
is
draconian.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
because it's under
You can't
Meta's.
use words.
You can't say specific words. You can't say you're downranked. Obviously, they have this whole ban on political content, which means anything challenging a group or any social justice content.
Yeah.
I think it's dystopian. I am extremely libertarian when it comes to speech, I guess, and I think that protecting civil liberties and free expression on the internet is crucial. I would much rather use a platform that sort of errs on that side and sometimes gets it wrong than errs on the other side. And I don't agree with Substack. I think those blogs, obviously they did end up taking them down, but I'd rather they make those mistakes than the opposite.
And you're promoting your Substack on Meta products. Are there any issues because you can't really promote your Substack using certain words?
Yeah, it just gets downranked. It gets shadow banned. I'm so heavily shadow banned on Facebook. I've had so many posts taken down. I've violated community guidelines so many times just by trying to talk about things like, for instance, revenge porn, right? You have to say the word porn. Like, and that gets you flagged. Or politics, like I want to challenge power. I want platforms to challenge power.
Also, trans issues are kind of censored.
Yeah. Oh, all LGBTQ content is censored.
Yeah.
Censored. It's censored. I should say, like it's downranked and hidden. And same thing with anything to do with reproductive justice. I think it's dystopian. I think
if your feed is people who are talking about these things,
you can't even find people that are talking about these things because they're hidden from search. If you do find one and you follow them, you probably won't even get their videos in your feed, even if you've chosen to follow them because of these restrictions on content.
At some point, Mosseri, that's his name, Adam Mosseri, he said that if you're interested in something, it would come up.
No, that's not true. We know that that's not true. The Washington Post, actually, my former colleague, did a great investigation into Jeff Fowler, into the heavily just deep restrictions on content related to social justice issues, anything sort of.
I find links on threads are not promoted. Also, all
they aren't.
They just want their own videos.
Yes, exactly. They downrank links. If you link outside, it's the same with Twitter. If you try to link outside the platform, it downranks it.
Yeah, the X link is a disaster. Like it opens a weird window, not even Safari or Chrome. And when you put a YouTube link, it doesn't even show. It's like weird. But yeah, and Elon, for example, just took the America username for his America pack.
Yeah, he just steals usernames all the time, anytime he wants them.
And he pretends to be other users to comment.
Why we? Oh yeah, but this is why we need a more diverse tech ecosystem. And I am a big believer in sort of like the federated universe of social media of like, Mastodon. Blue Sky is hell on earth, but whatever. It's good that it exists, I guess, theoretically. Just places that are not owned by these big tech conglomerates.
Yeah. What's the name of this? Threads at some point said they're part of the blue sky.
They're part of
Femiverse?
the Fediverse. Yeah, exactly, the
Fediverse.
Fediverse.
I don't exactly know what is the Fediverse, but they're compliant.
Yeah, Fediverse means that basically like you can get it, you can sort of like theoretically take your follower or your like people can follow you elsewhere through the Fediverse. It's kind of still too technical for normal people to probably utilize, but I do think that it's, you know, the sentiment is there. And by the way, they're only doing that for antitrust issues.
I see. I'm checking at you wrote about the Lily Allen
Feet
post.
pics.
She makes more money on OnlyFans than Spotify.
Yeah.
I know her actually from the UK, and like,
No way.
yeah.
I am desperate to get her on my podcast and talk to her about the economics of Spotify and everything.
Yeah, I'll introduce. And people sometimes hire someone to run the OnlyFans DMs. It's a whole job.
I think that's going to be automated through AI soon. Because there was this girl, Karen AI, who's a big Snapchat influencer, who built a AI clone of herself that her followers could talk to for $1 a minute. It blew up. It made her millions of dollars. It was hugely popular. She's not on OnlyFans, but she has that sort of a lot of men that follow her for those reasons, like sort of parasocial reasons. And I think that eventually men are just going to be chatting with like OnlyFans bots.
So OnlyFans
Or women.
OnlyFans is the only place making money in a way per individual user. Because like people can make money on Polymarket because bet, but then TikTok you can make. I have a friend actually in the UK who runs an agency called Cadence, so all the TikTok stars come to him for extra work because the TikTok, much like Spotify, you don't get paid.
You don't get paid. I mean, none of these platforms pay you, and so now you see a lot of content creators moving to the subscription model, which is ultimately what Substack is as well.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm checking. So the Black Insurrectionist, what was that?
Yeah, so Black Insurrectionist was this really well-known Twitter account that was spreading tons of viral misinformation.
Right.
They were the ones that spread the Tim Waltz sort of like hoax.
Yeah, it's still going on. I have MAGA friends who still talk about the Tim Waltz, either Chinese lover or abusing a kid.
Yeah, it's all like sort of tied in with that world. But so it turned out the guy behind it, allegedly, the guy that was tied to the account, was a white man and was just this random guy in upstate New York that was just random. But I think it's like interesting because I've written a lot about transparency in the content creator world. I'm very pro anonymity and against tying our government IDs to our social media use. That's terrible. That's very like dystopia. But in this case, I just thought it was an example of people essentially following an anonymous account, giving it a huge amount of credence, allowing it to dominate these news cycles, and not knowing who was even behind it.
Yeah, because he wasn't black and he was not really an insurrectionist.
Yeah, well, not physically,
And what was the Halloween full brain, the woman behind the viral Texas breakup? What was that?
Oh yeah, that was the woman that, this was just a viral TikTok that essentially this woman went through this horrible breakup and moved to Texas for this guy she was dating for 3 years, and then he dumped her and she made a TikTok about it. And what I found interesting is just how quickly people went back and sort of pulled apart every aspect of her relationship and kind of like they were watching all of the past videos to be like his body language here is like shows that like, and I don't know, it just goes back to this idea of like our whole life is being surveilled and like there's so much content and like people can sort of, if you go viral for the wrong reason, like suddenly your entire life is going to be picked apart in this way. And
do you still get Tucker Carlson mentioning you, or that's kind of past?
Well, he's been so deplatformed.
Right.
So it's so funny. Milo Yiannopoulos tweeted to me today about me ranting about me for something, and I was like, I haven't even heard his name in a minute.
Yeah. I used to know him. He was a tech reporter, Milo.
Remember?
In the UK.
Yeah, he was like ago. That was like back in his like normie days. Now he's completely.
Then he was Kanye's campaign manager.
Yeah.
And he kind of came out against Kanye.
Yeah.
Interesting trajectory. And Elon unsuspended him.
Yes.
He had the Nero username, and now he's back. Like with all the other unsuspended.
Well, now he's Catholic and straight.
Oh, yeah.
So, which is hilarious.
Yeah, he stopped being gay. He says. Interesting.
I don't know if that's possible, but sure, whatever.
Yeah, weird that we're kind of back. Do you feel like we're back to those semi-right-wing influencers from 6 years
Some
ago.
of them, I mean, a lot of them never went away. They
Bannon
were.
is out today from prison.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, they were sort of like deplatformed in ways. I mean, Alex Jones is not back. He's definitely been sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, that lawsuit put him into the ground. But
I mean, Bannon just said Alex Jones would be in the White House in some capacity, and Laura Loomer would be the spokesperson, according to Bannon.
that was hilarious. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I think
And
Trump
the Red
would.
Scare girls. would
Oh
have
yeah,
votes.
well they're sort of increasingly desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their influence peaked in around 2018.
They
and-
met Alex Jones. They went now to Madison Square Garden.
but they
followed
just
Trump.
they'll do anything to try to get attention because
Yeah.
they sort of lost their audience, and then now they're just trying to get attention through
Yeah,
any
it's like-
means necessary.
I know, and I feel like Anna is more out there on the Fox News, going with on the Vivek Ramaswamy dinner table. On Fox
Again,
News.
because they're desperate. I mean, when you're desperate, when you're desperate and you've lost your audience and you've lost that cultural relevancy and you can't, you know, they never were able to really break out and sort of become any sort of mainstream thing. And so they just sort of like are increasingly declining. But look, it's if you want to become a conservative influencer, there's tons of money to be made and you will be platformed by a certain group of people. Remember that like Northman from North whatever guy that they platformed for a while, that musician?
Right. And he was switching sides at some
Well,
point.
it turned out that no. I mean, it just turned out that he wasn't as like right wing as they thought, and so they immediately they moved
Yeah.
on, and like that's just the way the right wing is.
I feel bad for Dasha because she was on Succession and she had just been doing some cool things other than going down the rabbit hole of Vivek Ramaswamy. But Anna kind of pulled her, maybe. I feel.
I heard that she was a nightmare on Succession, and
Right.
she had such a minor bit role. She wasn't even like a secondary. She was on like just like a random like. They could have just cast some NYU acting student for that. Like she's never had a major role. But again, if you appeal to the far right and you get yourself into that universe, maybe there's some far right executive, right, that will like put you in something. It's sad because again, you see a lot of failed actors, failed musicians, failed rappers, right? Like they go to the far right because they're desperate, because they've lost their ability to sort of generate their own.
And the far right have enough audiences and money to sustain.
They have
them
enough
with
money
subscriptions,
they have enough money to essentially sort of prop up these people. That's why you have all these MAGA rappers like Forgiato or whatever, right? Like these are people that otherwise would have zero career because they've never been able to make a career for themselves.
Yeah.
But you go into the far right, like you'll be platformed, you'll get money, there's an entire infrastructure, which Bannon, by the way, was essential in building, like in the media ecosystem on the right.
And it's kind of like also the Barry Weiss area.
Oh, Barry Weiss is the same thing. I mean, she's funded by billionaires. She's propped up. Like, the only reason she has this media company that has this valuation is because it's been propped up by far-right billionaires.
Like who? Or
Well,
do we
like
know?
all of the, I mean, Andreessen is
A16Z,
like all the, well, she was on, when she started on Substack,
Yeah.
but, you know, she's got that bullshit fake, you know, school that's takes money, and like it's essentially it's all like a big sort of money laundering like scheme of sort of like laundering, like sort of putting these people up as fake independent media people, but they're not independent media people. I mean, this is why someone like Tim Pool just had to quit, right, from content creation, because the
Russian money,
exactly, he was just getting right-wing money and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and the minute that he was not useful to them, or this you know scheme got exposed, the spigot's cut off, and he can't even make it as a YouTuber. He can't support his own stuff because there's no actual like organic audience there.
Yeah, I knew him from the Vice magazine days, Occupy Wall Street.
But again, that's another example, right? He failed out of traditional journalism, and when you fail out of traditional media, there's this entire universe on the right that's like, well, come here.
I have right-wing friends. You know this guy, St. Paul, what's his name, Paul Johnson or something?
Paul Johnson Calderon?
Yeah, so he's kind of insane, but people from the right keep telling me, no, listen to Barry Weiss, she's like moderated. You would understand her argument with talking to Jerry Seinfeld as opposed to the incendiary. So I have right-wing friends. They keep thinking that the Bill Maher and Barry Weiss are like the middle.
They're not the middle. They're right-wing.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, they're just spouting off crazy right-wing talking points.
They brainwash Trump all the time on Free Press with the Barry Weiss.
Of course.
thing.
I mean, Barry Weiss is just, she's just right-wing. She's never been not right-wing. I mean, this was a girl that was a campus activist in college trying to get people fired for their views. Like, she's never been for free expression, free speech. She's never stood for anything. I mean, she's never even been a journalist. She just was like an opinion writer. It's just a grift all the way down.
And it's all about anti-Semitism, but never calling out Trump for his
Well, she doesn't actually care about it. And anybody that alleges to care about anti-Semitism and it says absolutely nothing about Trump and Elon, etc., is completely full of shit.
Yeah, it's all about, she keeps mentioning anti-Semitism as the thing that we're all supposed to unite
But
about.
she's a really intense Zionist. So she conflates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which in itself, conflating the actions of the state of Israel with Judaism as a whole is very anti-Semitic. Like, it's ridiculous.
Totally. And what's your take on Bill Maher, that he's kind of endorsing Kamala, but keeps saying we need to blame ourselves for why Trump is doing so well?
He's delusional. He's just like a bitter old man who just he somehow manages to be wrong on like every single issue. And he just kind of,
Would you go on the Bill Maher show? Would be interesting.
Absolutely. I'd go on any of these freaks shows. Like, put me on. I love fighting with people, and I would tell him he's wrong.
Yeah, Piers Morgan. I haven't seen you yet.
Call me up. He has my info. He's got Hassan on now as his like token leftist.
Mehdi Hassan. Zeteo is doing well, actually.
Oh yeah, Mehdi Hassan. I was talking about Hassan Piker, but
Hassan Piker, sorry,
But no, Mehdi Hassan is doing great. Yeah, Zeteo's doing really well.
It's like the only new media companies on the left that even is happening.
Right. Again, yeah. But look, I think they made $3 million, which is totally great, but that's nothing compared to the funding that something like, again, the Free Press and others get.
Which she said, Free Press, 100 million valuation. And
again, because it is propped up by these billionaires that are ultimately sort of like funding that project. Mehdi does not have that, he's not going to get that because he's not spewing right-wing bullshit.
Yeah. And now they're saying that Truth Social is doing well, the stock allegedly, and X might buy Truth Social.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
If X bought Truth Social, first of all, it's just like, it just goes to show you can really just get an exit, if you hold on long enough, I guess, in that world.
The Truth Social stocks are up right now, and they're making more money than X. I mean, the valuation of Truth Social.
That's so interesting.
And Elon tanked X so badly.
Well, Elon just doesn't, he doesn't care about tanking the valuation of X because it's a political project. The sole goal of that platform for him is to influence politics in the election, which is hilarious because you had liberals completely melting down, like liberal politicians and the liberal media, like losing their minds, for years about election interference, and Facebook might have weighted Donald Trump's page a little bit more, so let's drag them in front of Congress. Musk is openly doing all of that stuff to an insane degree, not just censoring stuff, but like boosting stuff to like a crazy degree. And there's no inquisitions, there's no congressional hearings. It's just been normalized, and I think that's incredibly ridiculous.
There was a bet on Polymarket whether Brazil would ban X, and they did. There is a saying on Polymarket, nothing ever happens. People just are tired of betting stuff that seemed too wild to happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
Brazil banned it. Germany should ban X for anti-Semitic like posts and inciting, and the UK, Musk inciting the violence where people just burned a refugee hotel.
Yeah.
And Musk was like, they're the victims, the ones who burned it.
Crazy.
And they should ban X in many more countries.
Yeah, it is a very
Why isn't Apple banning X from the Apple Store?
I have no idea. I guess because it's making them money and because nobody wants to go against Elon.
Nobody wants, though, in the App Store.
Yeah, and it hasn't technically violated them.
Right. Porn. X is full of porn.
X is full of porn. You would think so, but I don't know. I just think that ultimately Elon is this aggressive and powerful figure that people don't want to challenge, because then you have to deal with his lunatic user base, right? And suddenly it's like you ban X, like I think Apple ultimately wants those people to buy iPhones. They don't want to be politicized. And
his daughter Vivian is one of the most prominent voices on Threads.
Yeah, she's been really outspoken.
Her content is not being flagged down because she's the only unique voice, because Threads have people that you can find other places.
Yeah.
Have you been in touch? Vivian? Or,
I have not talked to her, but I obviously know who she is, and I follow her posts and stuff. Yeah.
Because obviously Elon said she died.
Yeah. Elon is a terrible parent. Did you see that he has the compound That
He's building something in Austin.
yeah, for his
5 wives.
Exactly, his like multiple wives and all of his children.
Would be interesting to visit the construction.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna, and just saying, people thought it's gonna be like an AI election, but then it turned out to be just paying people money to vote.
Yeah.
Elon just giving out cash. Do you feel like disappointed this election is not more about AI?
I never thought that this would be a super AI election because the AI hype cycle has really only started the past year. And I think for something to really affect an election, it needs to mature a little bit. And I don't think it's completely mature enough for it to sway that much.
I find AI boring sometimes, just stupid animations.
Yeah.
People use it to just avoid paying lawyers on ChatGPT, and that's it. It's not really, because you can't make money off AI, I feel like. I don't know, Polymarket is more exciting for me because it's culture. I can talk to like MAGA people, I can make money on weird predictions. AI is just boring.
AI just to me, it's like, it's just so milk toast, you know, like it's sort of like middle brow content. I think it's interesting, like some of the ways that it's changing like socialization or how we talk. Like I think it's changing our relationship to technology. People are much more comfortable talking to AI about personal things and developing sort of bonds with it. But it's still early days.
Okay, it was fun. Stop it here.
Okay.
Yeah, hope to come visit the UK. Let's hang out.
I know. You should move to LA.
Yeah, people tell me.
You really should.
Okay.